Welcome to the Driveway Beers podcast with Mike and Alex. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the show. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share on any platform that you're listening on. All right, welcome back to another show. We appreciate you coming back. Please like, subscribe, comment, share. That's our agreement with you. We provide all the free content you could ever want. And in exchange, our handshake agreement with you, the listener, is that you either follow us, subscribe to the show, like the show.
Do all three.
All three. Go to the Facebook page, like the Facebook page. You can follow us on Twitter. We're a little active on Twitter. We try and post at least once a week on all the social media platforms, just to let you know when an episode's been released. Gonna make a greater push to get on Rumble. But before we get to that, before we get to the reason why, we want to thank Cheers and Spirits and the Arnold Station Plaza. We want to thank them again for sponsoring this episode. They have been very gracious as far as sponsoring the show, but also they have a wonderful selection of whiskeys, which tonight we're going to try a new one. Which one are we trying?
So tonight we're going to try, it's John E. Fitzgerald Larceny. So Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. It's 92 proof.
Splashing ice everywhere.
As Alex is dumping ice. Apparently Alex wants it neat. I'm not going to read all this history about this guy, but because I don't think anyone cares.
No.
You can look it up yourself. But we're going to give this one a shot.
You going neat or on the rocks?
I'm gonna start neat.
You're going neat. All right.
I always like to try it neat first.
You're coming around to the neat.
Yeah, I'm starting to get.
I'm not there.
I'm a snob. So
I am not a neat.
Yeah.
I tried neat the other night. I tried a Henry McCallum 10-year, and it was on the recommendation from a guy at a whiskey bar that we went to. We got fancy one night, and I forgot what I was going to try. I think I was going to try the Eagle Rare again, which is what Krishan brought that one show. Mm-hmm. I was going to have it because it was a nice whiskey, and he's like, "Oh, we ran out." And I'm like, "But if you like Eagle Rare, try this. Try this Henry McCallum 10-year. McCallum or McCallum, whatever, some Irish name." And so I did, and it was really good. I meant to go over to Cheers and Spirits this week because I wanted to go see how much it is. Because on the menu, it was a glass of it, which is another topic of how much these bars are charging for these things.
Yeah.
It was on the same price level as like a Rare, and I think if I remember Krishan saying it was like a $35 bottle. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, and this Henry McCallum $35 bottle, definitely worth us giving a shot on another show.
Yeah.
It was a really smooth whiskey, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Was it a bourbon? I don't know. I still don't know the difference.
Yeah, I don't. So, Jeff across the street knows the difference because he's from Kentucky. So, and I think that's probably the big. If you're from Kentucky, it's probably more important than if you're not. But
I know I asked this before. Is it like champagne? Like champagne can only be called champagne if it's made in the Champagne region. Like if it's made in the Champagne region of France.
Yeah,
like,
I think
something like that. Everything else is white wine or whatever.
Sparkling wine.
That's what it is. Yeah.
But even champagne is just a wine that sparkles. Like it's almost like all champagne is sparkling wine, but not all sparkling wine is champagne.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know, but there was a bourbon we tried that was from Indiana, the Redemption.
That's a good one too, though. I like that.
And it said bourbon on the label, so I don't think it has to be from Kentucky.
Maybe not. We should probably bring
Krishan if you know, I know some of our listeners are into bourbon too, so let us know.
I think that might be like the one thing people actually listen to us for. This is the whiskey tasting.
Yeah, but this is pretty good. So this is I'm drinking it neat. This is I paid $26 for this bottle.
Good price.
And I have a lot of fun in that price range because you're not breaking the bank over it.
Right.
It's more expensive than a plastic bottle of of Popov vodka,
Right.
But so it's to me that's like nice case of beer price range. What's a little high for a case of beer, but but it's not like I'm killing myself buying this.
How much is an 18 of Miller Lite? $12, $13,
something like that. A 30 pack is like 24.
So you get it. I mean, essentially you pay double for this. But in my opinion, one, it's going to last longer.
Yeah.
A lot longer.
Yeah.
And two, at least in my opinion, look, don't get me wrong, I like Miller Lite. I'm a Miller Lite guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say this, since we kind of did this thing where we've kind of transitioned a little bit from beer to whiskey.
Right.
I've enjoyed the drink more.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Well, because to me, a beer is just, I sit there and pound them until I fall asleep.
Yeah.
And like MLs, I can just keep drinking them, and it doesn't have really any effect on me.
Yeah.
Some of the heavier beers do, but again, the bourbon, I'm never drinking it to try to get a buzz. Like I've had one a night, almost one a night consistently for a little while, just to cool down and go to bed where, it's a lot less calories than you would if you were to drink 6 beers.
Yeah.
So, really with the bourbon, it's more relaxing, I enjoy it more than just pounding beer. Now, again, I'm not going to go and say, I just finished mowing the lawn in July, I'll have a bourbon. Like, that's not the kind of drink it is.
No, you're right.
But anyway, get back to the bourbon. This price range, this like $25 to $40 price range is kind of fun because you can find some good bourbon, some good stuff in there. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's more of a challenge finding the good stuff in there than, sure, you can go and spend $15,000 on a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle.
Right.
But, that's going to be good. Like, if you spend that kind of coin, it better be good.
It better be, yeah, right.
But then I'm trying to think, maybe it's like wine, where wine's one of the most ridiculously priced. Just because you spend a lot of money on a bottle of wine doesn't mean you're going to like it. Doesn't mean it's any good. It just has to be that's what's hot right now.
It's funny that you related it to wine like that. I relate to that. I'm not a big wine drinker,
mm-hmm.
but the wines that I do tend to be the ones that the wine connoisseurs would not like.
So my wife drinks. She likes to drink. It's Monkey Bay. I think it's Sauvignon Blanc. That's what she likes to drink.
Yeah.
Or there's another one, Marlborough. They're both from New Zealand. I think they're like $9 a bottle. And that's what she likes. And you know what? Who cares? Now, my wife 10 years ago was, maybe, or 10, 15 years ago, being a bit of a wine snob, would have probably thumbed her nose up at those brands of wine.
Yeah.
I want to drink cake bread, which is super expensive, but is cake bread worth cake bread money? No.
No.
None of it is. So maybe the same way, I don't know, maybe some of you bourbon guys can chime in and say, no, you're full of crap, you got something, but I've also, drink the kind of wine that you like, drink the kind of bourbon you like, drink the kind of beer you like. And if you like, Natty Light, then drink Natty Light. If you like Busch lattes, drink them. So, I don't know.
Do you think that probably comes with age, though, doesn't it? Like, in your 20s and 30s, you're not that you're trying to be a baller.
But when you still give a shit and you're trying to impress people?
Right. It at that point...
Like, I give no shits. Right. If you've seen me, it's probably apparent.
Well, but back in the day, we were drinking like the Beast Light in college. So we got out of college like, we can't drink Beast Light anymore.
Right. Now I'm going to drink IPAs.
Right. I got to drink the Heineken or the Amstel. Or I got to drink the import beers.
Yeah.
Because that's what looks good. That's what I'm supposed to do because I'm grown, right?
Yeah.
But then I think once you kind of make that transition, like your mid-30s, late 30s, you got a family, and you're like, okay, I got to pay money for, Little League baseball.
Yeah.
So instead of buying like the beer that's like $12 for a 4-pack, because that's where some of these like craft brews are,
Yeah.
and making that your house beer, you're like, all right, I enjoy this Miller Lite. This is what I actually like to drink. My taste buds tell me it's good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a real huge fan of this, $12 4-pack. Why am I getting that?
Yeah.
Let me go get the Miller Lite or the Busch Lattes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm probably happier drinking that.
Yeah.
And my wallet is a lot heavier because of it, right? Mm-hmm. I think it's the same with the whiskeys and the bourbons at this point. It's like, even on the lower end, like when we tried the Benchmark, which is like Buffalo Trace's, ugly stepchild.
Yeah.
It was lower proof. It was about 80 proof, I think, which is probably why it's in the lower price range, but it was $18 for a handle.
Yeah. And
you're like, for $18, for as smooth as it was, like for as little bite as it had, could it have been, I mean, would you have liked it a little bit heavier? Sure. But at $18 for twice the size of a bottle,
you deal with it.
You can have a second one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of the ones we've tried here, the Basil Hayden Toast, the Knob Creek, this Larceny, the Bullet, even the Eagle Rare, if I remember right, I mean, we're talking bottles in that $25 to $35 range. Mm-hmm. Now, don't get me wrong. Have I tried something more expensive? Probably not. But I can't imagine it would taste that much better to me.
Yeah.
That I would go spend the $45, $50, $60 for that bottle. Now, don't get me wrong. Maybe my mind will change. I'll have one and I'll keep it, and then I'll keep the bottle for like odd occasions, maybe. But even like the Basil Hayden Toast, which I wasn't a huge fan of to begin at the beginning when I tried it the first time. The second time around, I kind of liked it. Mm-hmm. And again, we're talking about, I think that's a $35, maybe a $40 bottle. It's on the higher end. Basil Hayden generally tends to be. But would I mind if I drank this Larceny at 25 versus this Basil Hayden Toast at 45 or 50? No.
Yeah.
I would go for this Larceny 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, so like right now, I'd go for this over the Basil Hayden Toast.
Yep.
Now, regular Basil Hayden, I'd probably still go for this just because I don't feel like spending $45 on a bottle of.
Well, that's what it comes down to. Yeah. Do you want to pay? Is Basil Hayden on my taste buds worth double the money than this Larceny?
Not really.
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, and even like the Knob Creek 9, that's 100. So this Larceny's 92 proof.
Yep.
The Knob Creek 9 is 100 proof. Mm-hmm. It's got plenty of alcoholic kick to it.
Yeah.
But it's still smooth.
Yeah. So this is now to me this particular bourbon it's really it's it's not too hot. No. I'm drinking it neat and doing just fine with it. So now the Elijah Craig, I don't drink that neat. That's too spicy for me to drink neat. Too hot. So I just drink that on the rocks. But this stuff, I think I'll take this neat 10 times out of 10. It's really good.
It is good.
And I didn't have to break the bank. And I saw there's a bottle of Woodford Reserve that was, I think that's in the $40 range, somewhere $45, $50 range. I could have bought that. But again, do I want to spend $20 more on that? Is it worth it? So maybe to have in my collection at home, because I'm going to try to build a collection. So I still have the Elijah Craig. I didn't finish that. I bought this in addition to that, so now I'll have two on the shelf. So I'm hoping to be able to continue expanding the.
I'm laughing because you're contradicting yourself from the last time we talked.
I know,
because we asked a specific question,
right? And I switched.
Do you drink one? Do you buy one, drink it, and then get another one, or do you buy one and then like grab some others to accumulate? You were a buy one, kick it, and get another one.
Yeah, but here,
yeah.
Now, and I'll tell you why I bought this, because we were recording tonight, and you had Elijah Craig.
Yep.
So there's no point in me bringing Elijah Craig over. So I thought, I'll stop and I'll grab some of this bourbon, and hey, it's pretty good. So now I have 2. So they'll last, and then next week I'll buy another one. I'll have 3. Now one of these may be gone by then.
Right.
So I'll at least have a selection. Eventually, what I like to have, like the bottle of, Basil Hayden, Angel's Envy, the higher end stuff, just sitting there ready to go for a special occasion, sure. But I think for my day-to-day drinking activities, this suits it just fine.
Yeah, I agree. And I've got about 4 of them upstairs. And the funny part is I remember when we kind of started this, I was like, American honey all day long. That's all I wanted to drink because that's what went down the smoothest for me.
Yeah.
To the point where, like, we kicked a bottle and then got a handle, and that's half gone.
Mm-hmm. Was your wife drinking it too?
She was.
Yeah.
But we would also, like, bring it over, like, when we got together on weekend.
Yeah.
Like, we'd bring it there, and people would take some. But that's what it was for, right? I mean, it's for sharing.
Yeah.
And for people who didn't like whiskey, that was the one to bring.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I'd probably say last month or so, we haven't touched it.
Yeah.
Because we've been enjoying these other ones. And it kind of goes to like, look, I think your first almost month of drinking the whiskey, you're almost not going to like it.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, something changes.
Mm-hmm.
And like what I was talking about a couple weeks ago, the first taste for me generally isn't great. It's the second, third, fourth, like after your tongue's like got that shock, the shock's done.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're doing this? Okay.
Mm-hmm. It's like getting into a hot bathtub.
Yeah. Yep. You got to get over the initial shock of it.
Yeah.
But I'm shocked. I'm more surprised because if you would have asked me a month or two ago, I would have said the American honey is going to be the house whiskey. That's what I'm going to drink when I choose to drink it. 2 months later, it's not.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I still like it.
It's just chilling. Yeah, it's not your go-to.
No, it's because now, and this is kind of what Krishan was saying. To him, it's not whiskey, and now I'm kind of on that same boat.
Mm-hmm.
It might be called whiskey, but it's such a completely different animal.
Yeah, it is, and I don't want to disrespect it. And I'm not trying to be a snob, but like, it's flavored.
Yeah, yeah.
Does it have actual honey in it? Probably not.
You don't think?
I don't know. Who knows?
I think it might.
But it's flavored with honey.
Right.
Whether it's flavored with honey or glycol, which is what Fireball is flavored with. But here's the thing. Fireball is a whiskey. It's also flavored with some chemical that tastes like cinnamon. Someone might look down on the Fireball drinker because, what, did you pick that up in a Florida Georgia Line song? And Florida, like, they would say that Fireball isn't whiskey, just like Florida Georgia Line isn't country.
Right.
Which I'd probably agree with, especially the latter statement. But it's still technically whiskey. Like, that's the base alcohol was made out of.
Right.
But it's one of those things where whenever you first get into a new drink or a new something, you're like, think about cigars. When people first start smoking cigars, because they're kids and they have no money, they might smoke Swisher Sweets or acid flavored cigars, right? And then they mature and they start smoking different types of cigars that don't have the artificial flavoring in them. Most people start drinking, think of, I don't know too many dudes that drink. I mean, that drink this. There might be somebody out there, more power to you. But girls, they'll start drinking and they'll drink like Arbor Mist and Boone's Farm and then White Zin. But you talk to a woman who's been drinking wine for a while and they thumb their nose at White Zin.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even wine to some people. Tell me you don't know anything about wine without telling me you don't know anything about it. I'll have a White Zin. Like, that's kind of how that goes. So I think it's kind of the same thing with bourbon, and I'm going a long roundabout way to get to it. You start with the sweet because everyone likes sweet. Who doesn't like honey?
Right.
Russians, communists maybe, but people that don't love America. But like after you get through that, like, then you start saying you can appreciate the the burn doesn't bother you. The spiciness doesn't bother you because you're maturing. You're getting used to it. Your taste buds are maturing.
Right. Yeah, I think the American honey was a good introduction to whiskey.
Mm-hmm. It's like training wheels.
But you're right. I think it was American honey, Knob Creek. American honey, Knob Creek. American honey, Knob Creek. Yeah. Like, you slowly transition over to the regular bourbons because American honey got you used to the burn.
Yeah.
Because there's a little bit of burn to it. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not a lot, right?
But it's not like drinking water or beer.
Right. And so, if it's something you're looking to get into, I would definitely tell people to go that route to start. Like, grab a bottle, you'll finish it. Mm-hmm. And you'll probably finish it within a month. And then go get another one. And then that one's going to last you a little bit longer. But you got it. Save it for your friends who don't drink whiskey.
Yeah.
And when they come over and they want to have a whiskey with you because you're having one.
Yeah.
That's what you give them.
Yeah, or on cigar night.
Right.
You know, that's something that you can drink with a cigar.
Sure.
And every now and then you might say, oh, you know what? I'm kind of feeling some American honey.
Right.
And you'll just drink an American honey and be fine with it, you know?
You're not going to be mad at it.
No.
It still tastes good.
And there's nothing wrong with liking it. And that's nothing I don't get. Like, how could you drink that crap? What is it to you? I'm not making you drink it. Mm-hmm. And I guarantee you, if that's all we had to drink and you wanted to drink bad enough, you would drink it. Like, I never understood that. And I'm sure I've said this, like, who the hell would drink that? Like my Bud Light thing.
Yep. But that's tasted. For me, that's different. Because Bud Light, you don't like the taste.
Right.
Miller Lite's in the same category. Yeah. It's the same price point.
Yeah.
And you're completely good with Miller Lite.
Right. I just don't like Bud Light. Gives me the Bud Mud.
I mean, it doesn't mean your taste buds went away.
Right.
You know, like, it's still, if that Bud Light doesn't taste good to you, you're not looking down on someone for drinking it. You just don't like the taste of it. But you're right next to the person drinking drinking a Miller Lite or a Busch Latte. Yeah. You know, you're not. It's not like you're next to him drinking, you know, a Dogfish Head IPA double ale that was 5 times the price and sneering at the guy for drinking the Bud Light. You're like, no, I'm okay on the Bud Light level. Yeah. I just don't like Bud Light on the Bud Light level.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if you go to Cheers and Spirits, they do have Bud Light for you Bud Light drinkers.
Should you desire.
Yeah.
If you have no class and you're a Redskins fan.
You probably still are a Dale Earnhardt fan.
Right.
And your number 3 hat.
And you like to kick puppies.
Yes.
It's there.
Yes. If you drink Bud Light, that's what you are. But they have that at Cheers and Spirits, along with the Larceny whiskey or bourbon, or whatever it is, and the Miller Lights and the Busch Lattes.
Yeah, all of it, right there. But it's kind of one of those things.
You can make bad decisions in Cheers and Spirits and get your Busch Light and get your Bud Light. So.
Yeah, but you can't like be sitting there with your Miller Light and with your pinky finger in the air and look down on the Bud Light drinker.
No. You're on the same level.
Yeah,
that's the same level.
It's not like you rolled in an S class to the Ford Escort party.
Right.
You know, like they're driving the Escort. You're rocking a Cavalier, dude. Like,
right. Someone driving the Cadillac Catera.
Yeah.
And you're driving the Cavalier.
Yeah.
You're driving basically double the price Cavalier.
Right.
With your Catera.
Yeah.
Because that's what it was based off of.
Yeah. Catera. There's a Cimarron too.
Right. Yeah. Maybe it was the Cimarron that was the
Cimarron was
Cavalier.
The Catera was some Opel product.
Maybe. Yeah. I forgot what it was. But yeah, I hope that we never get to the point where we drink a $45 bottle of whiskey and we look down on the $18 bottle drinker.
Yeah.
Like, no, man. You do you with the $18 bottle thing. And guess what? I'm probably drinking that too.
Yeah.
I'm just not drinking it today.
Right.
You know what I mean? I probably drank it last week, or I'm going to drink it 3 weeks from now. I don't want to be like that, the wine snob that's drinking like a $35 bottle of wine and looking down on the guy drinking $2 Chuck from Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
But $2 Chuck is a pretty damn good wine.
Well, the thing is with the wine is that what is keeping the value so high? It's just because somebody said it's expensive.
Right.
And someone else was willing to pay for it. And then now they all think it's good.
Mm-hmm.
And is it that good? When probably it's, if you're a super refined sommelier, that's what a wine person's called, maybe you can tell the difference. But, drunk Becky at the wine festival cannot tell the difference at all. So,
actually,
and neither can I. So
the wine I found that I like the best is actually on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, at the Eastern Shore Winery.
Mm-hmm.
They've got this wine called the Golly Wobbler.
That's that sweet.
It's very sweet, but it's not a dessert wine.
Yeah,
it's a legit wine, but it's very fruity, and they got 3 different flavors of it.
That's hangover wine.
Yeah, that thing, it gets dangerous because you could drink a whole bottle, not realize it, and you're like, oh crap, the bottle's gone. Or you might be 3 bottles deep without noticing because it tastes like fruit punch.
Yeah.
But it is wine, and there is alcohol in that, and you will feel that tomorrow.
Oh, you are going to feel that hard.
But here's the thing, though. A wine drinker, like my wife is a wine drinker. She drinks that and loves it. Mm-hmm. It's like she would never thumb her nose at one of those. Even if she was drinking something like maybe like Merlot or something that I don't know nothing about, but she would look at that and be like, "Oh, let me start drinking some of that because it's that good." Mm-hmm. And it's not like a Riesling. It's not a dessert wine. Yeah. It's not in that. It's different. That's a different type of animal. So I mean, like, I hope with me, I don't get to the point where I'm drinking like a $45-$50 Basil Hayden or whatever, and like someone next to me is like, "Hey, pour me some of that Knob Creek." I'm like, "Knob Creek, get out of here, peasant." Yeah, I just don't think I'm ever gonna get. And I guess I should never say never. I don't want to Justin Bieber this, but like, I don't want to get, like, I don't think I'll ever go into like the $60, $70, $80 bottle of whiskey. Because I don't know what the value is.
Yeah. If somebody wanted to buy me a present.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not. I wouldn't like snub it. Like, oh, what do you get me this for?
Yeah. So like, if you think you want to buy me a present that happens to be a $100 bottle of bourbon, I'm going to accept it.
Right.
And I'm going to drink it. But.
And maybe they can get it for $75 at Cheers and Spirits because they do have great prices.
Yeah.
And the Arnold Station Plaza.
Yeah. But like, am I personally going to go up to that level? No.
Yeah. I don't think I could buy it myself.
Yeah.
But even like the Basil Hayden Toast, I think it's like a $45 bottle. That was a gift. I didn't buy that for myself. I don't think I would buy it I don't even think I'd buy a $45 bottle for myself.
Yeah, so that and Basil Hayden Regular were next to each other.
Yep, like, I think the same price.
Yeah, same exact price. So it's not like the Toast is a special, it's not like it's Basil Hayden, like one's a SL and one's an SLT. It's
they definitely taste different. Like, they're 2 different whiskeys as far as tastes go. The Basil Hayden's more of your traditional whiskey, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Like, it keeps your... the only way I could describe the toast was when you drank the Basil Hayden Toast, your tongue almost felt dry after you swallowed.
Yeah.
Whereas with the regular Basil Hayden, to me, felt like a regular whiskey in that it still coated your tongue. Like, almost like it didn't evaporate off your tongue right away. So like to me they're 2 different types of whiskeys. They have the same Basil Hayden name, but the Toast is not the regular, in my opinion.
So what are you thinking about this larceny? You digging it? I mean, I'm pleased with it. So
I like it.
Yeah.
To me, it's got a little bit of a bite when you first put it in. When you first take a sip, it's got a little bit of a bite on the tongue, but it doesn't burn the throat. Right. Like, to me, like the burn doesn't continue, right? Not as sweet as most. I feel like it's more on the dry side. Mm-hmm. And here I'm going into my fucking full on.
Oh, here we go.
Whiskey connoisseur name. No, I like it. It's a little bit different. I don't know even how to describe it, but it's just different from what we've had.
Yeah.
Good flavor on it though. I mean, you drink it, it tastes good. Like I said, it's got that initial bite, but after that, I like it. I mean, like the flavor stayed on my tongue. That's another thing I kind of like about the whiskey. and it's kind of probably why you can slow drink these whiskeys. You still get the flavor in your mouth. It's not in and gone.
Yeah, it lingers.
Yes, it's lingering. And for me, like, I always, like, before we started this, I always thought the linger was the burn and not the flavor, but that's not the case.
Yeah.
The linger is the flavor. It's almost like if you can get past the initial rush of burn for some of these, and I'm not saying this one burns. I'm just saying some of them can burn initially.
Yeah.
But it goes away, and it doesn't burn going down.
Yeah.
Now, why I don't drink it neat, and this goes kind of the neat and on ice. For me, every time I've drinking a whiskey neat, I've definitely had the acid reflux later.
So, yeah, so Scotch gives me acid reflux no matter how I drink it.
Okay.
And I always drink it on the rocks. I don't really ever drink. And I'm not that versed in Scotch. Maybe maybe we can branch off in that direction later.
I wouldn't mind trying it someday. I've never tried a Scotch.
Yeah, and you can definitely tell the difference. Like, it's something that you can like you can definitely pick up on it. I like it, but I prefer bourbon to Scotch.
And see, for me, I veered off into Irish whiskey. Mm-hmm. To me, that was very similar to American whiskey, which is most of what we try is American whiskey.
Yeah.
Except it's a lot lighter on the tongue. A lot like with the Redbreast and the Jameson. Mm-hmm. When I tried those two, the flavor wasn't... It was light on flavor. But, I mean, the whiskey looks lighter. It's more yellow than it is red.
Yeah. Well, so the way this is aged in the charred oak barrels, and that's what makes it a bourbon.
Right.
So, it's something I pick up color from there. And, I mean, I'm not even sure how long this has been aged for.
But I guess my point is, so for me, the Irish whiskey and the American bourbon / whiskey, to me, they taste like they're in the same family. Mm-hmm. One's just a lighter version of the other.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested to see how Scotch is. And I guess there's Canadian whiskey, too, if we ever wanted to try Crown Royal.
Yeah, then there's, like, Canadian Mist.
Isn't Crown Royal expensive as shit, though?
I don't know. Because Crown Royal has a honey. Like, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
I feel like people pay for the name Crown Royal.
It also comes in the little velvet bag.
Yeah, well,
so
pretentious assholes.
Yeah, which is just
I feel my bag.
That's the bartender's wallet, is what that is.
That's exactly right.
But it like I have my grandma used to drink. I think it was Canadian Mist or something like that. It was like some cheap handle of whiskey she'd buy, and she'd drink it on the rocks all night, and then before she went to bed, she called it her snort. It was just a shot.
Oh yeah.
And I referred to it as Grandmom's awful. That's what I called it. So it was. She enjoyed it though. She lived to be 80 years old. Did something right. But
it's probably one a day.
Yeah.
Keep that blood. It's a natural blood thinner, yeah, or unnatural, however you want to think about it.
And the couple packs of cigarettes every day. I'm not sure how they all balanced out with one another. But
the whiskey was keeping her alive. The smokes were putting her out.
Yeah. So who knows? Maybe they canceled each other out.
Right.
But she always had it. I mean, it's a road to go down. And there's some other neat stuff. Like there are sipping rums where people get rum and sip rum. I
feel like rum is super spicy though.
Well, it's also sweet. I mean, it's made out of molasses.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's like the alcohol. So and then there's vodka. I don't know if there are sipping vodkas.
I feel like vodka and gin, do they really even have taste?
I don't particularly. So I don't like gin at all.
Okay.
I had a bad experience with gin. It had nothing to do with drinking too much of it. Well, that was a contributing factor, but it wasn't the factor. So it was a Christmas Eve, and we went to a Christmas Eve party, and I kept drinking gin and tonic. And we were walking there, so it wasn't like I had to go super far. So I could just drink as many as I wanted. Mm. Well, they had sushi there, and it turned out the sushi was like tainted somehow, and I got sick from that.
Ooh.
So I woke up on Christmas morning, I was like, I don't feel well. And I was a little hungover. I was like, but this, like, I know myself. I know how much liquor I can handle. It wasn't like I was some college kid. I was an adult. I had children by this point.
Right.
So Christmas morning, before the kids woke up, I'm puking in the toilet. And then all of a sudden, I felt like that for the rest of the day. So, but all I remember is one of the strongest flavor was the gin. So I'm kind of done with gin.
I can feel that. For me, it's vodka. Had a bad experience with the vodka.
And like vodka, I mean Tito's. I mean vodka is just alcohol you put into other drinks to make them fun.
Well, that was the problem. So we were drinking shots of vodka, and had strawberries dipped in sugar.
Are you in college?
No, high school.
Oh, okay. I should be like, no, it was last week. I'm like, look, bro.
Right. Go to high school. This was in high school. Just drank way too much of it because the strawberries and the sugar masked it all. And so I was hugging that toilet for the rest of the day after. My parents like, what did you do? And I'm like,
I got norovirus.
I was just like, I just fessed up to it. Like, I drank way too much. They're like, did you drive? No, I didn't drive. Was the person driving drunk? No, they weren't drunk. They weren't drinking. Like, okay, well, you're going to...
You're learning. This is called a lesson.
You're going to have a bad day. And I did. I had a bad couple of days, man. That was bad. All right, let's veer off this, though. Because we got cars to talk about. So I don't know if people caught it. A couple episodes ago, I mentioned that I bought a 2004 GMC Yukon Denali because I'd been looking for a 3-row vehicle. We'd only talked about it for a year, or year plus. Finally, bit the bullet, bought one. 175,000 miles, 2004. It's a 19-year-old vehicle, and of course, I'm no mechanic, and because the guy had it Maryland State inspected. I was like, oh, okay. As long as it passes Maryland State inspection, which for people out there that don't know, it's a pretty rigorous inspection. It's much tougher to pass than like Pennsylvania's or Virginia's, because they do Pennsylvania and Virginia do it once a year. Maryland, it's one time before you buy it. In order to register, it has to pass the Maryland State inspection.
And then never again.
Right. So it passed Maryland inspection. All they said was it needed rear brakes. So the guy had rear brakes put on it, made the sale. I paid $8,000 for this vehicle, which in this market is not a lot. I paid another $650 in taxes and fees to get it registered. So I'm into this thing for $86.50. I noticed some issues. I felt like there was a hesitation. It felt like, and then like the lights would dim when it idled. Those were the two main things. I also wanted them to check underneath, make sure there was no rust. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, take it over to my mechanic. I said, I want to do a full pre-purchase inspection. Even though I've already bought it, I want you to do a pre-purchase inspection. Let me know everything wrong with it. I get a call back a day later. Okay, here's what's wrong. Here's the list. It needed...
Sounds like Hoovies' garage.
Honest to God, if I were filming this, you could put him in the episode, and this would be Hoovies' garage.
Yeah, except Hoovies dealing with a Lamborghini. So at least you're not paying to fix a Lamborghini.
He went so wrong, man. I wish he would go back to the shit boxes.
Yeah.
Like the old Hoovies.
Yeah.
Stop. I'm never going to buy a Lamborghini. Why would I watch that shit?
Right.
Go back to buying a Buick Riviera. That's something I might want to buy. Mm-hmm. In fact, one of the reasons why it kind of got me into this era of GM large SUVs was when he bought the Cadillac Escalade in the Riptide Blue, and he kept saying that word and everyone wanted to shoot him. But anyway, so I knew I wanted, of the Tahoe, Yukons, and Escalades, I knew that I liked the Yukon Denali version best, so that was the one I was looking for. The 175,000 miles would normally put me off, but I knew that the 6.0 liter engines were good engines. I knew the transmissions could be weak, but I think they're weak because people tow with these vehicles, and those transmissions probably weren't built to tow big boats and stuff. This transmission had already been replaced 40,000 miles ago. So it made it 130,000 miles on a transmission. So I felt confident that the engine and the transmission were good. I was wrong. So I thought it was probably like a fuel sending issue or something from the fuel tank. Nope.
Maybe a bad injector.
4 cylinders were misfiring.
Okay.
So, and I'm trying to figure out how to frame this. Should I frame all of the issues at once and then the fixes for these things, or should I just go one by one?
I go one by one because I'm curious to find out what was causing the misfire.
Okay, so basically I told him, look, I want to fix the misfire first, because if we can't fix the misfires, I'm not doing any of this.
Yeah.
Because that means the engine's shot. So he's replacing the spark plugs and the ignition wires. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing that he's going to do. If that fixes the misfires, great. We go on to the next thing. If not, he's got to go and look in the heads and see what's going on in there. I haven't heard back from him yet on whether, because he was supposed to pull the plugs out. He said if the plugs look new, he's going to stop there and then go on to step 2. Because if you got new plugs, what's the point? Yeah. He goes, we know the plugs are good. It's not the plugs. He goes, maybe it's the wires, but it's not the plugs.
Right. Well, I had a car. Now, does that have plugs or coil packs?
So it's got spark plugs.
Okay.
But I don't think it has coil packs. Now, I had an 8.1 liter Chevy Workhorse chassis on an old RV. That had coil packs.
Yeah.
Now, I think just because it has plugs doesn't mean it can't have coil packs, though.
Okay.
I'm not sure,
Maybe it has both.
But when a coil pack goes, you know it. Like, when I had 2 coil packs go on and it was a V8. The 8.1's a V8. When it went, you lost power. Like,
when a coil pack goes,
yeah.
Because I had an 05 Crown Victoria that it lost a coil pack, and the engine went right into limp mode.
Yeah,
like it gives you like 40% power, just to get you back to where you need to go. And then my 04 Taurus, that had a bit bad wires, which essentially inside the wire had just deteriorated. So the wire on the outside looked good, but the metal on the inside that actually made the connection was just completely crumbled up.
Yep.
So
I'm hoping that fixes this. I'm hoping spark plugs and wires fix it. Not a cheap job, but it's worth doing.
Yeah.
So,
at least in that engine, everything's pretty easy to get to.
Well, so that one job where, let's see, it is spark plugs, ignition wires. It's $481. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
But the dimming of the lights and everything, alternator. So
okay.
When the alternator needs to be replaced, that's $339.
Okay.
The hydro boost, which is essentially GM's version of the brake booster, that apparently was leaking. Now, if that leaks out, you have no brakes and no power steering, because the power steering is connected to the booster.
So that does everything.
Everything. $779.
Okay.
The front and rear pinion seals were leaking. $293. Not bad. Easy to get to.
Yeah.
One upper control arm. So when I was turning at slow speeds, I'd hear like a pop. It would feel loose.
Yeah.
That was the upper control arm. That's $325. And these prices include labor, by the way. This isn't for the parts. The one biggie. Apparently, the engine oil pan gasket was leaking. Because you have to drop something to get to it, the total cost for that was $651.
Okay, so my question would be, how much oil is it losing? And if it's not that much, then I'm just going to check the oil and let that ride.
So, yes. The labor on that, 5 labor hours to do that gasket.
Yeah, and the part's probably $8.
The part is $34.
Yeah.
The labor is $615.
Yeah.
So I asked him. So I got him on the phone, and then I was looking into doing like power seat switches because they weren't working.
Mm-hmm.
So I called him up, and I'm like, "Look, man, is there anything we can do on this bill?" He's like, "No, I don't negotiate prices, and I can respect that." Mm-hmm. I was like, "I asked, you said no. I respect it. I had to ask though."
Yeah.
I was like, the power seat switches. I said, look, the main thing I was hoping you guys would do is make sure it's the switches and not the motors. The motors in that truck are under the seat, and it was the up and down for the bottom that wasn't working, not the forward and back, and not the back, and not the recline.
Yeah.
But I can't get the seat lowered for me to have a little bit more headroom in it. Mm-hmm. So I asked him, I said, is it the...
Yet another reason why I hate power seats.
Right. So with those power seats, apparently the switches go. They wanted $441 to do switches. The part, they were quoting me $150 for each switch.
Like, go to the junkyard and find that.
I went on eBay. $24 for a switch.
Yeah.
So you're telling me instead of paying $300 for 2 switches, I can get them for $40, and it's basically 5 screws and a plug. Okay, and so the funny part was, it was almost like he didn't want to do the job, like he didn't want to do that job, and he quoted it so high because on the phone he's like, "Hey, look, pull the side off, spray the switch with contact cleaner." He goes, "It's probably going to work." Because I did that with the HVAC knobs.
Did it work?
On the HVAC knobs?
Yeah.
Yes. So the HVAC knobs, when you were turning the dial, the number would go all over the place.
Yeah.
It would go down to 60, up to 80, down to 70.
Do whatever it wanted.
Yeah, it was going wherever it wanted to. So I took this bottle. It was WD-40 contact cleaner, so it's not regular WD-40. I pulled the knob off. I stuck the hose as far into the hole as I could, and just started spraying.
Yeah.
Spraying. Did that a couple times with each knob. Works perfect now. It's amazing, especially with older vehicles, that it's using a switch and a contact. And if the contact just loses any kind of connectivity with the other part of it to make the electric current, it's going to screw up.
Yeah.
So with that one, I just sprayed it in. This literally took maybe 4 minutes to do. So I'm hoping that once I take the screws off the side of the seat and I pull it off, and I can literally just go spray the switch, and even if I got to pull it out and pull the plug out, just spray it. You wait 5 minutes for it to dry, and it's made for electronics, so it's not going to hurt anything. And then if I play with the switch and it works, I'm like, oh, I can't believe I even asked him to do it. Worst case scenario, if it is the switch that's broken, I'll go on eBay, I'll buy 2 switches for $40. I'll plug the new switch in, and you're done.
Yeah.
It's so accessible. I think it was one of those things where I thought it was going to be like a $100 job. Like they were going to charge maybe 30 minutes for labor, $40 for the part. Figured it'd be in there for, like I said, $100.
Yeah.
Because while it was there, okay, go ahead and do it, right? But no, there was $440. And he's like, you can go do that yourself.
Yeah.
The oil pan gasket, he recommended exactly what you said. He goes, I'll wipe it clean. When you come back in 6 months for an oil change, we'll check and see how bad the leak is.
Yeah.
In the meantime, in those 6 months, once a month, check your oil.
Yeah.
Or once a week, check your oil level. If your oil levels are staying steady, we really don't have to worry about that leak.
Yeah.
Until you're absolutely ready to fix it. He goes, worst case scenario, you can just push it off for a little while. He said, just keep some engine oil in your house.
Yeah.
And check it out every day. Or check it out every week or every month or whatever.
But you haven't observed like puddles of oil under the
I haven't
truck.
seen it leak anything.
Yeah. So
it could have been something else that leaked, sprayed up on that oil pan, and made it look like it was seeping.
Yeah.
When it might not be, or maybe it is just a little bit of seepage, and it's just not enough of a leak to drip down.
Yeah.
I don't know, but he said But he was basically telling me ways I could lower this bill down, because the initial bill was $3,000. Mm-hmm. Like, and the exact amount was, let's see, I'm sorry, $3,400 that I was going to dump into a 19-year-old vehicle. So by not doing the oil pan,
that means you'd be total into this thing for about $12,000.
$12,000.
Yeah.
But because I'm not doing the power seats, I'm going to do that on my own, and I'm not doing the oil pan gasket, which was $600. I've literally chopped off $1,000 on this bill. So,
if I were you, I would do the plugs and the wires.
Yeah.
And the alternator. You're doing this the switches yourself.
The pinion seals probably should get done though.
Yeah, but and the control arm.
And the control arm needs to be done.
Yeah.
But yeah, with all of that, with all that stuff, and plus this is also an oil change too. Oil change, cabin air filter, engine air filter. Yeah. That's all going to swell. That was in that $3,400. Mm-hmm. But if I can do all of that minus the switches and the oil pan gasket and get out of it $2,400, that means I'm into it for
11.
Which, think of it this way: a 3-row SUV, basically completely sorted.
Yeah.
Other than that oil pan leak, which you don't know how bad that is yet.
Yeah.
Yes, it has 175,000 miles on a bulletproof engine. Mm-hmm. Like, these engines can run for 400,000 miles with some basic maintenance. You're into it for $11,000. Like, right now, where are you going to find that?
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. People are going to say, well, you could get like a 2010 or 11 Honda Odyssey minivan. You can, and the transmission might be shit. Mm-hmm. Like, this is one thing I never really understood about Hondas, is Honda doesn't get a lot of garbage or a lot of flack for some of their older transmissions. There was a decade or two where Honda transmissions were known to be
junk,
piss poor.
Yeah.
And the Honda Odyssey had that transmission. And
here's the thing: people give GM a lot of spec, but those, what is it, the GM 4-speed with overdrive, like, they put that transmission in everything, and there's a reason they did it, and it goes, there's no.
Well, look at it this way: let's say the transmission does go. A remanufactured transmission with better parts inside. So that means, because there's a guy up in Glen Burnie, which is right up the road from us. He rebuilds that transmission. He's got like 7 or 8 of them for sale on Facebook Marketplace. Mm-hmm. And he says he rebuilds them with better internals. So basically he's using better strength materials. Basically he's building it so it won't break again.
Yeah.
He's selling them, I think, for $900. Mm-hmm. You'll probably get them down on the price a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe $850. You're probably looking at $400 or $500 for the install. So you're talking maybe $1,300 and you got a brand new transmission in this thing. And it just can't, as long as the engine doesn't go and the body doesn't rust out, which was another thing. He looked at the body rust. He said the body rust is fine.
Yeah.
He goes, it's not rusty. So as long as your body doesn't rust out on these things, even a transmission swap on this isn't tough. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not going to cost you a ton. So even if I had to put another $1,300 onto it down the road, I'll have $12,300 into it.
Yeah.
But again, it's a big 3-row SUV that I don't have to give a shit about.
Yeah.
I just got to change the oil in it. I mean, the paint's not great on it. Don't care.
Right.
I'm gonna do some handyman paint work on some areas because there's bare metal.
But then the interior of it is in great shape.
It's in wonderful shape.
Yeah.
And
those interiors get torn up.
They do. I even bought some leather dye. So I found these guys down in Atlanta. You give them your VIN number, they find your interior color codes. Mm. So I got sent 2 bottles because the Denali has a 2-tone leather. I got the light color and the dark color. I'm going to re-dye the steering wheel. Mm-hmm. So all the little imperfections on the steering wheel are gone. And on the driver's seat, there were 2 spots with the darker color. And I'm just going to dab them. And it's going to look like they were brand new seats. Mm-hmm. And the only other thing that I'll probably want to do to make it modern, up to modern standards, is put a wireless Android Auto system in there.
Yeah.
You can get a head unit for $500. Mm-hmm. With all of the bits and pieces from Crutchfield. With all the bits and pieces.
Yeah.
and they help you install it for the most. I mean, they'll walk you through it, or they give you instructions on it. So I might get a little ballsy and try installing one myself.
Yeah, they're pretty easy. Once you get the trim off of those,
I already took the trim off. I took it off 3 times already.
There should be 4 bolts that hold the radio in place.
There's 3. There's 2 on the left, 1 on the right.
You pull it off.
Yep.
And then the Crutchfield kit. Well, but if you go with one of those big screens, it's going to fit a double DIN thing. You're not going to need to have one of those stupid plastic like things that sticks out.
Yeah, this model holds a double DIN.
Yeah.
Perfect. It looks natural. And I've already got these things because I had on the RV, I got a nav system on the RV. It's a truck nav. Mm-hmm. It's a Kenwood / Garmin, whatever. Well, the power kept going out on it for some reason. So it turns out I had a bad plug. Mm-hmm. So I basically bought a new plug, but then I had to rewire the whole thing. And so I bought these shrink soldering kits. So basically it's the shrink for the wires, but in the middle is solder. Mm-hmm. And so you just hit it with a heat gun. So basically you connect your 2 wires.
Yep.
You slide the shrink over the connection. Mm-hmm. And there's a little bit of solder in there. And as you're heating, it solders your twisted wires together. Mm-hmm. And then it melts the shrink wrap over it.
Yeah.
So you don't have to actually solder anything.
Yeah.
It's already built into the sheath. I think we did the whole wiring harness in maybe 40 minutes. Mm-hmm. And that was mostly us figuring out the wires that go to the wire, like basically like matching everything up and checking it twice, so we only had to do it one time.
Yeah.
45 minutes, we were done.
Good deal.
Yeah. And because that head unit alone was $1,000. Those truck navs aren't cheap. Now, if I can do that with this for $500 and change, yeah, shoot, I can get it. So then I got a fairly modern, technology-wise SUV, because I already took out the 6-disc changer. So now it's a big cubby, so I can fit my big ass phone in there, and if it's wireless Android Auto, that cubby is right below the radio, so it should connect right there.
That'll be no problem.
And so now you've got a modern SUV that rides like a dream. Because apparently the shocks aren't. I asked him if the shocks were blown because it was a little bouncy. He goes, "Nope, that's just the way it drives." Yeah. He goes, "This was the bouncy era for GM, where they emphasized the comfort."
Yeah.
And you know what? I am perfectly fine with that.
Yeah.
I basically lived out my own episode of Hoovies Garage for the most part. Although I'm not done yet. I'll be more impressed when it's here and done.
Yeah.
If I get the switches done, that'd be pretty cool. But for $11,000, you got a 3-row SUV. That's not too bad. Mm-hmm. And if I can keep it for 3 years, the goal. So the plan, whether we stick to it,
I think you'll get tired of that thing before it dies.
I agree. I think what's going to happen is I'm going to keep it for about 3 years. And then when my wife's car, which is a 2013, so hers is just hitting 10 years old, but it's in perfect shape. I mean, I just had the mechanic look at it. I was like, "Do you see anything wrong with this thing?" He's like, "No." Mm-hmm. No, I mean, knock on wood, right? But I mean,
she's not driving far anymore. So.
No, she does. I mean, we already swapped out the alternator.
Yeah.
So like, the only problem with that thing is the water pump is internal. If the water pump goes, it's a $1,500 job for the water pump.
Yeah.
But it's not. I mean, they don't have a high failure rate. It's just something to be aware of. Like, hey, if it goes, you might have to fork out $1,500. But the idea is if we can hold off another 3 years, because we're done with payments on that car next year. Mm-hmm. So if I can get 2 years of no payments, and maybe get $4,000 or $5,000 for hers, it's only going to have about 110,000 miles even then. This thing will probably still have under 200,000 miles, but it'll be completely sorted. Mm-hmm. I'll make sure it stays in good shape. I don't think I would get less than $6,000 to $7,000 for it, as long as it's under 200,000. Once it goes over 200,000, you're probably in the 5 range. Mm-hmm. But they're that desirable. Yeah. Like there is a cult of followers for those old GMT 800s.
Yeah.
I mean, just like there's some for the older version. People love those old Suburbans if they survive.
Yeah.
The problem is that a lot of them didn't survive because of the rust. And they were work trucks. Even the old Suburbans were work trucks for people.
Oh, yeah, I see them all the time.
Yeah.
They'll have ladder racks on it. The interior's full of paint.
Yep.
And they just dog them out.
And I wouldn't, depending on how much I like this one, I may look for a newer one. Now, my problem with the newer one is the active fuel management system, which deletes 4 cylinders at highway speeds.
Yeah.
And that system has been known to grenade an engine if it starts shitting the bed. But again, though, I don't know if it's a high failure rate or if it's just something like I don't know if you ever watched Legit Street Cars on YouTube.
No.
The guy Alex in Chicago.
Mm-hmm. No, I haven't seen it.
He's been on Hoovies once in a while, but he basically took a V8 out of a Caprice. The police version.
It's a 350.
Yep.
Actually, that's a LS1 or LT1.
LT1.
Yeah.
But it's essentially the same engine that they put in.
It's the same as a Corvette.
Well, it's the one they put in the Suburbans.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's the it's an LS. No, the LT is what they put in the big SUVs and trucks.
Okay, so it's
the LS. I think is the Corvette, right?
Yeah, and then I get confused because now because people talk about an LS swap, but it's the newer version, like the LS6 or something.
Yeah, so, I think the LS was always the high-powered unit.
Yeah.
Whereas the LTs were always like the workhorse units.
Yeah, and then the other difference was I believe the LS. So the difference between a regular any 5.7 and the LS was that the LS had aluminum heads.
Okay. So
they're all iron block.
Yeah.
But the high performance had aluminum heads rather than cast heads.
Yeah. But it was so weird that they did that, where they put the active fuel management on those V8s, because that engine was essentially the engine from my era, the era that I've got now. And they added that technology to it, and it was supposed to save a ton of gas mileage, and it only saves you like 2 miles per gallon.
So the whole thing, that whole thing is a scam. So what they do is, when the stupid government, and I mean that because I'm pretty sure everything the government does is stupid. The stupid government comes down and says, you have to get your mileage down to X. So what they do is, it's fleet mileage. So it's not every car has to be at a certain point. It's fleet mileage. So say they're selling X amount. So say take GM from that era. They were still selling Cavaliers. They probably still had some Luminas running around. No, that was probably Impala during that time. 4-cylinder Malibus. And then a bunch of trucks. So what they do is, to get the truck, because they know they're going to sell a bunch of trucks.
Yep.
To get those trucks, to get that fleet mileage down, they do dumb shit like active fuel management, where they shut down banks of cylinders. Which, how can that be good for the engine, just to have one side of the cylinder? Now, does it alternate which ones they shut down? No, it probably shuts down the same two all the time.
Oh, right. Yeah, you're right. But and they think they do it alternating. They have to do it with alternating pistons, right?
They have to be ones that are counterbalanced, so that when one is up, so one's down,
right,
its opposite is full up.
Right.
So it doesn't, because if you didn't, well, I don't know if it would have a balance issue because they're all still moving, because they're all connected to the same crank.
I wonder if they're just not putting fuel into the cylinder.
That's what they're doing.
Okay.
Because the pistons have to move.
Right.
Because they're attached to the crankshaft by you can't disconnect them.
Right.
They're still there. So they're connected to the crank. So the cylinder's going to move. Right. There's just no fuel going to those 2 cylinders.
Right.
But the idea is, if they could drop the average fleet mileage, or they can increase the average fleet mileage for their trucks
by 2 miles per gallon,
that has a huge impact, because at that time frame, like, they stopped making the Camaros so that they could make SUVs there. Because at that time, making SUVs was as close as they could get to printing money.
Right. But
they're selling so many of them, to take just a 2 mile per gallon increase in fuel economy would over the law of averages would really average out for them.
Yeah.
So that's why they did it. It was just a gimmick, and it was crap.
Yeah, I feel like they should have left the V8s alone. Now, Ford went with V6s. They dropped a lot of V8s and went to V6s. Like, for example, like there's no V8 in an Explorer anymore. It's a V6. And if you want the sport version, it's a dual turbo V6.
And it's stupid fast, by the way.
Right. They're basically getting more power out of the smaller engines.
Right.
But with those bigger...
And with the loss of some low-end grunt.
Sure. Well, with the turbos, though, you kind of make some of it back at the low end. You might lose it at the top end, but you gain... Because, like, I've got that 4-cylinder Equinox with a turbo in it. Mm-hmm. It feels like it pulls like a V6. Like, there is some pull on the low end. Because as soon... it's engineered or electronically programmed. Once you hit second gear and you keep your foot down, the turbo kicks in. Like, it's almost like it anticipates that you need the acceleration.
Well, and they're a little bit different than the turbos that you'd see like on a 911 turbo, which is waiting. It needs those exhaust gates because turbo lag is a thing.
Oh, sure.
And those turbos aren't. It's not the big, huge snail shell with the intercooler that we're thinking of. Like, that's what I thought it was going to be, and I was like really, disappointed when it wasn't. I was expecting to hear like a wastegate, like.
No, these turbos are small.
Yeah.
But they do just enough to give it some more push at the lower range.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's a 3,500 pound vehicle, so it's not light, but it's not heavy. It's not it's not as light as a sedan, but it's not as heavy as like a full blown truck based SUV. And it's got enough get up and go where I don't feel like it's a 4-cylinder. Because I did not like 4-cylinders. I really didn't want one.
But the 4-cylinders now are putting out more power.
They are.
Than they ever were. I mean, like, by Fusion, it's like 240.
You got a turbo in that too.
Yeah.
Which, by the way,
EcoBoost.
Is yours a 2013?
No, mine's a 16.
So I think they just announced a recall on it.
Yeah, they did. I need to take it in. I just haven't gotten around to it.
That was like recent, like the last 2 days.
But it has a turbo. Like, but the thing is, like, I remember 4-cylinder engines back like when we were in high school. Like, did make like 98 horsepower.
Oh yeah, they're awful.
Yeah, and then the V6s were making like not much. And I mean, my first Camaro made like 140. It's like my 4-cylinder Fusion would blow the doors off that car.
It was the old. It was the ladder effects of the oil embargo.
Yeah, I had a 5.0 carbureted 5.0. It was a garbage motor, the 305.
Yeah.
The reason I bought the car is because I had a 5-speed. It was hard to find a V8 Camaro with a 5-speed.
You're preaching the choir on that one.
Yeah,
because even in my 30s, I went and seeked out. I would only look at vehicles that had 5 speeds or 6 speeds. I never got to the point where they started putting all the 6 speeds in.
Yeah,
but like I had a 5-speed 01 Pathfinder, a 5-speed Altima, and I'm trying to think of it. I had even growing up like an 84 5-speed Prelude.
Yeah,
5-speed Honda Mazda 626. Like everything I had was a manual. I didn't drive an automatic until it was my last year in college. So I had a 95 Eclipse with the hood bump that did nothing.
it was just a little place. It was just a vertical surface to write a 16 valve DOHC.
Yeah, that was basically what it was. But that was a 5-speed. But so that one, it was a leased vehicle. That my dad worked some kind of lease on that where he leased it for 3 years, and then had like 3 lease option years. Like, it was the weirdest thing. So eventually it had to be...
Was a car a football player? Use your option years.
right, yeah. It was like guaranteed money. And then, so eventually it had to go back in, and that's when I ended up getting it was an 85 Taurus Show. My favorite car that I've had, and I was dumb as dirt when I got out of college. I got my first job, my first real job with a salary.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I want a brand new car. So I traded it in.
Oh.
And I got that 01 Pathfinder. Which, don't get me wrong, it was a sweet car.
Yeah. That's when the Pathfinders were still cool. They were still they weren't a dumb crossover.
No. They still had the body on frame, but it had a 5-speed in it. It had the Bose system in it.
Yeah.
I was like, I was balling on a budget. I was like, this is awesome. But then I was like, now that I'm older, I was like, man, I should have kept that Taurus SHO because one, you don't see them anymore.
Yeah.
Because they were either dogged out or whatever. And they had them in 5 speeds, but I had the automatic. But I had the one with like the JBL system, is all leather sunroof. Man, this was like a loaded SHO.
Yeah.
And
it still had the Yamaha base.
It did, man.
That thing would spin to like 10,000 RPM. It was nuts how fast those like they didn't redline at like 7,000. Like they're like big motorcycle engines in those things.
But it was so comfortable to drive too. It still had comfortable seats. The suspension was tight, but not too tight.
Yeah,
like it was a great car. That one and the Acura RL, the '06 Acura RL, I kind of regret getting rid of that one too.
Yeah,
because that thing had 300 horsepower, but it was a silent assassin. No one heard that thing coming.
Yeah,
but man, you pressed on the gas and it took off. But so I'll keep giving updates on the Hoovie my Hoovies experiment with this '04 Yukon. My hope is that the plugs and the wires fix all the stuff and it's going to be a solid vehicle from here on out. We do have some business to attend to. We're announcing the winner of our $25 Amazon gift card giveaway in celebration of the 100th episode, although I think this is episode 104 or 105 at this point. So we took a while to announce it, but we wanted to give people about 2 weeks to have time to enter. And we had a few entries, which was great. But Ryan in Zeeland, Michigan is the winner. So Ryan, if you're listening, and I'll reach out to you too. You can either email us at contact@drivewaybeerspodcast.com or I'll just reach out to you on Facebook. And I will get you your Amazon gift card for $25. And we thank everyone who's...
Big money.
Big money, man. Hey, we're balling on a budget. But no, we want to thank
everyone. That's $25 more than Rogan gave out this week. So.
That's right. Rogan's not giving any of that, 100 million out to nobody. He don't do any giveaways. We want to thank everyone who did follow the page, like the podcast, on wherever they did it. And I told you guys we were going to speak about Rumble. Rumble seems to be getting a lot more popular. Russell Brand is there now, exclusively.
Yeah.
Although I think he does post a few things to YouTube every once in a while, but
that's just a cool dude. I love listening to him.
He's something different, man.
Yeah.
And he recently went and did his American tour of the political shows and podcasts. So he went on MSNBC. Mm-hmm. He went on Fox News. He did Gutfeld.
Yeah.
He did Tucker Carlson's show. He did CNN. He did Bill Maher. Mm-hmm. He did Real Time with Bill Maher. So
I saw that one when he went after the...
oh, boy.
Yeah.
The MSNBC guy?
Yep.
The funny thing is, like, how oblivious that guy was to the hypocrisy that was just being thrown at him.
They're completely... They have no self-awareness, or they just think we're all idiots. And they still think that they're the legacy media. They think that they are the standard bearer, but all they've done for the last, 3 years is lie. So they have no credibility.
They don't think it's lies.
Yeah.
Like that guy looked like he was truly astonished.
Who could question us?
What do you mean we're worse than Fox News?
Yeah.
Like, Fox News is the worst.
Yeah.
And Russell was like, actually, you guys are trash.
It's a whole nother episode.
Yeah. It's probably time. We haven't hit politics in at least a month or so. So maybe it's time we kind of hit back on that. But we want to thank Ryan for doing all the hoops to jump through to get the gift card. But Rumble, because so Russell Brand is there. Steven Crowder now just signed an exclusive contract there. So it seems like they're trying to drive more traffic to Rumble. So we've been on there since the beginning.
We're OGs.
We are. And our whole 13 followers, it's big time.
Yeah.
Although the funny part is I think we get more views on Rumble than we do on YouTube. Which is weird.
Yeah. Whatever.
I mean, I think YouTube has probably got 10 times the amount of users. But we get
our Rumble fans, share it, tell a friend.
Right. Yeah, I mean, let's try to expand on Rumble, get more people to see it. But so just so people know, we are on Rumble. Just mostly because we know we're never going to show up on anyone's recommended shows on YouTube. Because one, we don't have actual video. We have a rolling fire.
Yeah.
But I know some people listen to YouTube for podcasts, so that's why we put it there. The same thing with Rumble. Like, trust me, the best way to listen to this is on a podcast platform. Use Apple Podcasts, use Google Podcasts, use Spotify, Pandora, whatever.
Yeah.
That's the best way to listen to this. But let's say I know a lot of people work at home. And they got their TVs on, they got their Fire Sticks on, and they want some noise in the background, they want to listen to a show. You can listen to us on Rumble and YouTube. And
yeah.
I know a lot of people, because for whatever reason, the podcast platforms don't do really well as far as putting their apps on the TV operating systems. So like Fire OS, like Spotify has it.
It does.
They've got an app for it, but like Apple Podcasts, you can't get it on Fire TV. Mm-hmm. Android TV, you can't get it there either. And a lot of people, that's what they're using on their TVs now.
Yeah.
They're using these, because they got cable, they don't have terrestrial radio on their TVs, but they want to have noise on in the background for listening at work. And so if you're at home and you work at home and you want to have something on in the background, feel free, put us on. You can go to Rumble, you can go to YouTube, or Spotify. They all have Android TV apps. You can even get the Spotify app on Apple TV as well, or Roku. So you can find us on Odyssey. Odyssey also has an app on those TV platforms. So if you want to listen to us that way, go ahead. We'd love it, and please share any way that you can. But we hope you had a good time. This has been a long episode. Congratulations to Ryan, and we'll see you next time.